Lunar Abyss is a new first-person bullet hell action-adventure which is inspired by games like Returnal and Doom, but with a lot more traversal and exploration, which is surprisingly just as fun as the actual combat. Despite being a flat-screen game, this is probably one of the most immersive experiences I've ever had in VR, as the huge dystopian industrial worlds are extremely vast, expansive and just surreal. I constantly found myself stopping and standing in awe, just trying to comprehend the immense scale of what I'm witnessing, taking in the sights of these beautifully eerie alien megastructures. I've honestly never seen such vast worlds in a game before, so I can't really compare it to the scale of anything that does it justice. But I would say the art style does take inspiration from Star Wars, Destiny, Evangelion, Armored Core, and most of all, the anime Blame, which is what most people compare it to. To briefly explain the story, you're a prisoner who wakes up on an artificial moon with no memory of your past or the crimes you supposedly committed. In order to reduce your sentence, your prison guard sent you to recover old technology from a devastated human colony inside the Abyss, which was destroyed by a plague known as the Scourge. The Abyss itself is more like an abstract civilization inside the moon, but feels limitless and much larger than the moon itself. Your character also doesn't physically go to the Abyss, but connects to it, which implies it's some kind of separate reality inside the moon, which explains the immense megastructures which couldn't possibly have been built by humans. The alien architecture of these massive buildings is what makes this world so compelling and mesmerizing, even to flat-screen players. But to witness this world inside VR is what really brings the scale of these worlds to life. I started playing the first few minutes in flat screen just to get used to the gameplay mechanics, but once I started playing in VR, I revisited the same levels and it suddenly felt like a completely different experience. The grand scale and expansiveness of this world makes you feel so small, which adds to the immersion in a way I've never felt in VR before. Before I go any further, I have to acknowledge the VR modding community, because without PreyDog's UEVR and those who take the time to create these profiles, we would never get to experience these games. And to be honest, I don't think we'll ever get games like this in native VR because it's simply too much of an investment for a niche market. So I'll always be grateful to the flat VR community for making this possible. Speaking of which, I have to give full credit to Kaiser Soze and Virtualizate for taking the time to create these profiles, which I used to complete the game in full, and to be honest, it felt no different to any other native VR game. These profiles are still being improved, but in their current state they're completely playable. However, I did make one crucial change to the controls. As this is a bullet hell which requires constant dodging, I had to swap the dash button to the Quest controller's B button, so you can still press the analog stick in any direction to dash. I've left the controller config file in the description, which you can add to the profile folder. This also means you can use it in any profile, which is important to note as these profiles are continually being updated.
Why do you keep coming? What do you want?
As for the core gameplay, most of the game consists of bullet hell combat, which means shooting and a hell of a lot of bullet dodging, which is why the directional dash is so important. Playing in VR is much easier than flat screen as you can more accurately gauge the distance of all the incoming fire while turning your head left and right to check your surroundings. The combat itself is quite simple as there are only 4 weapons, all with unlimited ammo and without reloading. However, they do overheat, so you have to use them effectively to exploit the enemy's weaknesses. There's also an auto-aim button which you will rely on heavily, as half the focus in a bullet hell is to dodge incoming fire. So despite the simplicity of the combat, it's actually perfectly suited for VR, and is very easy to adapt to. Enemies also go into a dazed state before death. This allows you to either execute them to recover a portion of your health, or they can be detonated, which inflicts splash damage to surrounding enemies and break shields. Foregoing health top-ups to detonate weaker enemies can be a risky but rewarding strategy, as breaking shields makes light work of the remaining stronger enemies. Knowing which ability to use is key to survival and keeps the combat more engaging as you constantly need to decide whether to take the defensive or aggressive approach. The traversal and exploration side of the game isn't just to give you a break from the combat, but is actually just as satisfying. As I'm not usually a fan of platformers, I found the double jump and dashing between platforms in this industrial world surprisingly enjoyable. There is an option to skip these and traverse them automatically, which some people prefer, but I strongly recommend playing these manually as they're a huge part of what makes this game so satisfying. In fact, I will sometimes swing around just because it's so fun having the freedom to bounce around and take in the sights of the abyss. There's even a secret achievement for this if you're into that. The game took me about 13 hours to complete on Warden difficulty, which I found to be the perfect challenge. Only the last few hours and bosses were really challenging, but all the enemies and bosses can be telegraphed. So you just have to pay attention to the colors of the attacks and time your dashes effectively. If I were to give this game a rating, it'd be an easy 9 out of 10, only taking a point away due to the lack of New Game Plus and survival modes, which I'm surprised aren't included in a bullet hell game. On average, it takes most people about 10 to 14 hours, which is a decent amount considering the satisfying combat mechanics and amazing level design, which constantly surprise me. Honestly, this game could be an interactive art gallery, because the art style of these megastructures are incredibly awe-inspiring. Lastly, the performance in this game is very well optimized, even in VR. I used the latest DLSS version 310.6 with profiles J and K. I noticed profiles L and M do look slightly better but come at much higher cost of performance and power draw. You can also adjust the VR resolution and graphics settings, so there's plenty of room to optimize to your liking. I've left links to the Discord for the profile and more technical details in the description. If you found this review helpful, feel free to leave a like and let me know in the comments if you have any other similar recommendations like this. So hit subscribe for more UEVR content and tick the bell so you're notified of new videos. And I'll see you in the next.